The Cold War began as a clash of ideologies between the US and USSR after World War II. The US championed capitalism and democracy, while the Soviets promoted communism. This divide was symbolized by the Marshall Plan, which aimed to rebuild Western Europe, and Stalin's aggressive expansion in Eastern Europe. Berlin, divided and in ruins, became the epicenter of this tension. The superpowers avoided direct conflict but laid the groundwork for proxy wars in weaker states. The Korean War marked the first major proxy conflict of the Cold War. North Korea, backed by the USSR and China, invaded the US-supported South. The battle lines solidified along the 38th parallel, with neither side achieving total victory. The war demonstrated the risks of superpower involvement, as Soviet-supplied tanks clashed with US air power. Over 2.5 million died, but the conflict ended in a stalemate, reinforcing the need for indirect strategies. As direct warfare proved costly, the CIA and KGB turned to covert operations. The US orchestrated coups in Iran, 1953, and Guatemala, 1954, while the USSR backed revolutions in Africa and Latin America. These operations were shadowy, involving propaganda, bribes, and assassinations. Local governments became pawns in the superpower struggle, often destabilizing regions for decades. The Congo crisis, 1960, exemplified this, as Cold War rivalries exacerbated post-colonial chaos. The Vietnam War became the Cold War's most infamous proxy conflict. The US backed South Vietnam against the USSR, and China supported North. Guerrilla warfare, jungle terrain, and political dissent turned the war into a quagmire. The Tet Offensive, 1968, shocked the world, exposing the limits of US power. By 1975, North Vietnam's victory marked a humiliating defeat for America, proving proxy wars could backfire spectacularly. Over 3.8 million lives were lost, mostly civilians. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, 1979, triggered the Cold War's final proxy battle. The US armed Mujahideen fighters, including Osama bin Laden, to bleed the USSR. Stinger missiles downed Soviet helicopters, while Afghan refugees fled in millions. The war drained Soviet resources, contributing to its collapse in 1991. Yet the fallout was dire. Afghanistan descended into chaos, foreshadowing modern conflicts. The Cold War ended, but its proxy war legacy endured.